Okay, folks, before you watch this video and you see all these incredible coincidences, you have to watch the video I did before this one. Okay, it's the Super Bowl video right before this one about 2023 next year. Go watch that first and then come and watch this. Anyway, let's look at all these incredible coincidences, okay? So let's start first by just showing you my two predictions that are in front of you right here. Anyway, so these are my two predictions that on June 11th, some type of spectacular event is going to happen in Seattle, and eventually that Elvis, his name or the number of his name or his image becomes attached to this June 11th spectacular event in Seattle. Okay? And then the other prediction I have is that on August 4th, Trump gets a head wound and he survives this head wound, and it's going to happen in Ohio. August 4th. And that's Obama's birthday, by the way, the day Trump gets the head wound in Ohio on August 4th. So those are the two predictions. And you know Trump, he's the 44th person to become president, but he's the 45th actual president to take office, okay? And Elvis has been dead for 45 years in the year 2022, this year. He just turned 45 years on August 16th that he's been dead. And then into 2023, he'll be 45 years dead all the way up until August 16th, which is the anniversary of his death. So my two predictions fall in between the beginning of 2023 and up to, before his anniversary of his death again. So it falls into the 45 year, just like Trump is the 45th president. 2022, 2023, it's connected because the 45 fell in 2022 and 2023, his death, Elvis's death. That he's been dead. It's got to connect, okay? All of it. So these first set of coincidences I'm going to show you kind of connect to, the 6/11, the June 11th Seattle event, okay? And remember, the first, of course, obviously, the first 9/11 happened on 9/11 2001. But the second 9/11 is going to happen in Seattle. And notice it's the upside down 9/11. The 6 is upside down, you see? Anyway, so I'm just showing you the coincidences connecting kind of to Seattle on this one. So you're not going to believe this. So next year, 2023, the baseball all-star game is going to be in Seattle, Washington. And look at the date, 7/11. Thank heaven for 7/11. And if you go from the start of the year, January 1st to 7/11, it's 6 months, 11 days. So there's your 6/11 connected. It's in Seattle, okay, where I told you the June 11th, the 6/11 event is going to happen. And June 11th is the 162nd day of the year. And baseball, it has 162 games within the season. So there's one connection to the baseball. Because sports, like I said, is connected, they use sports in these events as a predictive programming. And I told you that next year's All-Star game is going to be in Seattle, right? And the Seattle Mariners franchise, the team, the baseball team, started in 1977. That's the year Elvis died. And remember, I'm telling you, Seattle's going to be struck. Something big is going to happen in Seattle. And that same year that Elvis died and the same year that the Seattle baseball team started, there was a horse called Seattle Slew, and slew means to kill, destroy. Seattle Slew in horse racing won the most prestigious race. It's called the Triple Crown, and he won that race on June 11th, 1977. Okay, it's the biggest ending to horse, the Triple Crown. To win it is huge. Only a few horses have done it, and he did it on June 11th, 1977, the 6/11, Seattle, destroy Seattle, slew. And look, it's called the Sport of Kings. And horse racing is called the Sport of Kings. And Elvis was known as the King. And Seattle is in King County. And interestingly enough, that same year, the NFL All-Star game, which is called like the Pro Bowl game, the NFL Pro Bowl game was in Seattle. You know? I'm just showing you the coincidences. Anyway, so I was showing you the Super Bowl video, which I did before this one, and I told you must watch that one first, okay? Because I'm going to give away some of that information here, which is very important to the puzzle. I don't want to give it away here if you haven't seen that video. Anyway, so 2023 Super Bowl is in Arizona. And for some reason, there's some connection with Arizona and Seattle. And you'll see what I'm saying with the coincidences. So the Super Bowl next year is located in Arizona. It's going to be held. The football, Super Bowl. And then the 2023 Baseball All-Star Game, which I told you is going to be in Seattle, right? Next year. And here's, like I said, these are just, connections. So the 2023 Super Bowl is going to be in Arizona. Arizona is the 48th state. And I told you Trump's going to get his head wound on 8/4 next year. And it just so happens that the 48th prime number is 223. And look, it's 2023 Super Bowl is in Arizona. Arizona is the 48th state, which is the 8/4 backwards, Trump's head wound day. 48th prime is 223. 223, 223. Okay? And yes, it's the skull and bones number backwards, the 322. And here's some more connections. The word Arizona. This is what each letter equals. A is the first letter of the alphabet. R is the 18th letter, and so on. Look, it equals 84. I guess that's a coincidence too, right? 8/4, the day Trump gets his head wound. State number, 48. The 48th prime is 223. Get it? Which I showed right here. Okay? I mean, just ask yourself, what is the chance that the word Arizona equals 84, And here's another little tidbit, that Arizona, it became a state. Forget about the founded. It became a state on February 14th, 1912. 214 is the 45th day of the year. And I told you Trump is the 45th president. Elvis has been dead for 45 years. And I also find it interesting that Arizona has the big A, because I told you that the big A, it's connecting to the Space Needle, which looks like the letter A. If you've been watching my videos, you know what I'm always talking about. So real quick, let me go back to what I showed you earlier. So remember, the Super Bowl the location is going to be in Arizona next year. The Baseball All-Star Game in next year is going to be in Seattle, right? And the reason I'm showing you this again, because I'm about to show you something, I just want to remind you that Arizona, remember, equals 84, the word Arizona. It's the 48th state, so it's got the 8448 backwards. You see, Trump's going to get his head one on 84. Prime number, the 48th prime number equals 223, and the Super Bowl is in 2023 in Arizona. You see all the connections, and Trump's going to get his head one next year, 8/4, 2023, 223. 48. State, prime number 48. 84 backwards is 48. And I just told you that the All-Star game next year is in Seattle, the baseball All-Star game. So look at this. In 2014, the only time that Seattle ever won a Super Bowl, it was the 48th Super Bowl. You see? And I just told you that Arizona is going to be playing, is the Super Bowl is in Arizona 2023, and the All-Star game is in Seattle, the baseball. All right? It just so happens Seattle won the 48th Super Bowl. They're connected. All right? And look, it was played on the 33rd day of the year, 2/2. And look at the year, 2/14. 2014, 2/14. You remember I showed you that Arizona was founded on 214. Not founded, it became a state on the 45th day of the year, 214, you see? And remember that the next 9/11 is 6/11, right? So everything's connected to each other. The 6/11 is connected to the 9/11. And who won the year that the Twin Towers fell in 2001? Who won the 2001 World Series? It was Arizona Diamondbacks. Arizona. You see? And isn't a diamondback a snake? You see, it's because Elvis is the serpent. I told you that. And I've connected the Twin Towers to Elvis because Elvis had an identical twin that died at birth. I explained all that already. You have to watch my videos to fully grasp what I'm talking about. But they won the 2001 World Series, Arizona. And that was the only time that they won. Just like when I showed you that Seattle won the 48th Super Bowl in 2014. That was the only time Seattle ever won a Super Bowl. That's why for them to win the baseball World Series, Arizona, in 2001 when the Twin Towers fell, is like I said, it's just another great coincidence, right? And what else happened in 2001, the year the Twin Towers fell? Here's this interesting fact, but it's not that big of a deal, this one, but it's got a Washington connection, even though it's not the Seattle, Washington, it's Washington, D.C., that in 2001, the NBA Basketball All-Star Game was in Washington, D.C. But here's the big connection. So remember, this year, 2023, the Baseball All-Star Game is in Seattle, Washington. And the last time that it was in Seattle, Washington was in 2001. The Twin Towers fell. You see? Again, I ask you, what is the coincidences of all this? How about 0 to none? And remember, it's both baseball all-star games. It's the exact same, thing. And here's another interesting little fact. You remember I showed you earlier that the Seattle football team, Seahawks, they won their only Super Bowl. It was the 48th Super Bowl, right? And it was played on the 33rd day of the year, February 2nd. Check this out. The 1979 NBA Finals, the only time that the Seattle Supersonics, which is the basketball team, they're the only time they ever won an NBA Finals, and it was the 33rd NBA Finals. Look at that. Again, because, the 33 is a very important number to the elite because it's mocking God, because Jesus was crucified at the age of 33 and rose from the dead at 33. That's why it's a very important number. And it happened in 1979, this one. And interestingly enough, in 1979 was the very first time that there was an all-star game in Seattle in the baseball, because Seattle's hosted it like I said, in 1979, and then in 2001 during the Twin Tower that year, and the Twin Tower year, and then in 2023. So it's going to be the third time next year that they hosted it. And that same year, in 1979, Elvis' dad died. And don't think I forgot about Trump, okay? Because I told you Trump's going to get his head wound on August 4th in Ohio, okay? And I want you to see this. So the word Trump, this is what it equals: 88, 25, 47, 29. And the word sport equals the same as Trump. And sport, the anagram is ports. Like a portal, ports. Get it? Ports equals Trump. Sport equals Trump. And if you add an S, because Trump always said to have a twin, Trumps is the sports. And that's why the sports is so important. You see, Trumps equals sports, or Trump equals sport. Anyway, S ports. The S is the 19th letter of the alphabet. Like the Superman, the serpent, Seattle. The S is very important. I've explained that to you. Okay? It's the 19th letter of the alphabet, which is another important number. If you've seen my video called Lucifer Loses His S equals 19 crown. Anyway, so that's this. So I was just trying to show you the importance of the word sport or sports connecting to Trump. So this last part, like I said, should amaze you. Okay, so Elvis has been dead for 45 years. Trump was the 45th president, right? And remember, I told you that 2022 and 2023 is important because it coincides with each other when it comes to Elvis being dead for 45 years, because he's dead now for 45 years all the way until next year. So it's connected both years. So in 2022, pay attention, 2022, the NBA All-Star Game. Okay, and by the way, basketball started in 1946. I'm saying the first year that they had an NBA Finals, it was the 1946-1947 season, and Trump was born in 46, the year that they started doing being called an NBA Finals. Okay. Anyway, so in 2022, the NBA All-Star Game was in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. And I'm going to explain why that's important in a minute. Obviously, the Ohio is important because I told you Trump's going to get his head wound in Ohio. And it was the 76th annual NBA All-Star Game that year. And Trump turned 76 that year in 2022. So it was the 2022, and it was in Cleveland, Ohio. And remember, Obama was the president right before Trump. And Obama's born on August 4th. I told you they're all connected. I told you Obama, Trump, and Elvis are the unholy trinity. But Elvis and Trump are the real, McCoy. Anyway, so the 2022 NBA All-Star Game was in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland is a 216 area code. August 4th, the day Trump gets his head wound, is the 216th day of the year. You see? Okay, that was this year's NBA All-Star Game. Now let's see where next year's All-Star Game is going to be. So check this out. So next year's NBA All-Star Game 2023, because remember the last one was in Cleveland. It's going to be in Utah. And Utah is the 45th state. You see that? I just told you that Trump is the 45th president. Elvis has been dead for 45 years. And remember, 2022 was in Cleveland. Cleveland was the 216 area code. The 216th day of the year is August 4th, the day Trump gets his head wound. Oh, anyway, this year it's in Utah. Utah's the 45th state. And look, and I told you that the NBA Finals the year started in 1946. Okay, the year Trump was born. Look at that. NBA equals 17, the letters. And Ohio's the 17th state, right? Where Trump's going to get his head wound. Oh, and by the way, Utah, the word Utah equals the exact same as the word June in gematria. And I told you the next 9/11 is on 6/11 in June. Okay, and look, it's the 2023. So Utah equals June. And it's the 45th state, right? And Elvis died at the age of, Elvis has been dead for 45 years. And I told you Elvis has to do with the Seattle event, which is going to happen in June, on June 11th. And by the way, Utah also equals exact same as Bush. And Bush was the president during 9/11. That's why for Bush to equal June is a big deal, because the next 9/11 is in June on 6/11. I'm almost finished, folks. This is last couple things I'm going to show you. So in the World Series in baseball, the 17th World Series was won by Cleveland. And remember, Cleveland is in Ohio, and Ohio is the 17th state where Trump's going to get his head wound, and Cleveland is the 216 area code, 216. The 216th day of the year is August 4th, the day Trump gets his head wound. And Trump is the 45th president, and Elvis has been dead for 45 years. And look, in 1948, the 45th World Series was also won by Cleveland. Again, I ask you folks, how many coincidences do you have to see, before it's not a coincidence? Look, could this be a coincidence? Some of it could be, but I doubt it. All right. I'm just saying, what is the chance of all this? Ohio being the 17th state, Trump being the 45th president, Elvis being dead 45 years, Cleveland being the 216 area code, August 4th, the 216th day of the year. And just to prove to you that it's all connected, all this stuff, look at this, what I have written here. So you know Ohio's the 17th actual state, right? But why do I have Ohio as the 48th state here when we all know that Arizona is the 48th state? And you know why that I put this here? Because there was a discrepancy with Ohio becoming a state. I'm going to show it to you. So pay attention. So you see right here? It says Ohio, the 48th state, question mark. And why did they do that? Is because back in 1803, when it was the 17th state, they made a mistake and they didn't fully ratify it or make it official, basically, that it was the 17th state. And it didn't officially become a state until 1953. 150 years later, it became officially a state. But they retroactively still made it a state until, up to 1803, and they kept it as the 17th state. But it would have been the 48th state, which is Arizona now. You know what I mean? Arizona would have been one less. So Ohio is connected to the 48th state. Do you see what I'm saying? Listen, folks, I know it's difficult to fully grasp all this information, and remember everything. But look, if you watch it again and write down the information and see how it all connects, then you probably understand it better. But I'm doing my best, folks, to explain the unexplainable. End of video. And don't forget, these are my 2 predictions. Now, end of video.